You know, you could look at it a number of ways in terms of what's our greatest challenge. You know, injuries, you know, quite frankly, and it's absolutely no excuse because you coach guys, you recruit guys to prepare as starters, and when someone goes down, it's a simple answer, next guy up. And that's the way we've always approached it. We've always been very good at that. So one of the challenges for us is to make sure, headed into 2017, we're healthy, that we have our full arsenal of players. And you know, we took a big step in doing that as we gave Shaq Stanwyck the whole fall off. He's dealt with a severe back injury all last year. All we did was manage it. You know, 1 day of practice, 1 day off, 2 days of practice, 2 days off. You know, we spent more time, I feel like, managing injuries rather than playing and coaching. So, you know, coming into this 2017, one of the keys was to make sure we're healthy. So no Sapinski in the fall, no Kincannon in the fall, no Tinney in the fall, no Stanwyck in the fall. We just wanted to make sure that when we start, those guys are in a much better place this year than they were obviously last year. And then, you know, me being there, you know, you lose your head coach for 4 weeks basically, and you know, I don't care who you have as an assistant coach, and our assistants did a wonderful job. Things change when the head coach isn't there. So, you know, those are challenges we faced, but I think maybe on a more important level, what's going to change, what has changed, our leadership has changed. That has been the biggest dynamic that has had the greatest effect on this team from the day we've returned. And in the fall of 2016, this fall, we did something we've never done before. We elected captains before we arrived on campus. Traditionally, we go through the fall, we allow leadership to kind of emerge, and we allow the young guys to get to know the older guys and you know, have a part or a role in selecting our leadership. And we felt like after last year, one of the greatest changes we had to have was improved leadership. So we made it clear over the summer what our expectations of leaders were, what we were looking for, what our desires of those leaders were going to be. And we let the guys take some time to, you know, to let that kind of sink in and think about who they thought were the right guys. And then we had them vote. And from the day we stepped back on campus, we've had 2 servant leaders. And what I mean by servant leaders is they're 2 guys that put whatever's best for the program and for the guys on the team ahead of their own well-being. John Crawley and Nick Fields have done a great job there. What they've really done an even better job with is in employing the help of the rest of the senior class. And the other seniors have really taken to that role. So the biggest change in us, I think, is our leadership. And our leadership has set a standard, has set goals, and has set a path for how those goals and expectations are going to be met. That's been a huge change for us. And you can see the difference in practice, in the locker room, off the field, and in the classroom. Well, when you think of us headed into 2017, you know, the first thing you have to think about is how do you replace Ryan Brown? You know, he was such a dynamic scorer, and what people don't realize, I mean, he had a fabulous year last year, and you know, headed into the Loyola game, I mean, he was putting up ridiculous numbers in the scrimmages, and, you know, in the early games, and in practice, and he got hurt in the Loyola game, and was never the same, and still put up great numbers throughout the year. So you know, you've got to ease the pain of that loss, and the way you do it is you don't do it with one guy. There's no one guy on our team that's going to shoot the ball and score the ball like Ryan did. So something we have that's exciting is healthy competition, and we've talked a lot about it with the guys. And what we have is we've got a group of guys that were slotted as starters, especially early in the season last year. You know, Drew Sapinski and Alex Kincannon and Connor Reed and Joel Tinney and more Tinney, Reed, and Kincannon, because Sapinski was a bit later in the season. But those 4 guys were all in the top 2 midfields. and we now have those guys returning. So here's 4 guys that were slotted as starters returning. And I'm sure their expectation is, hey, I'm going to get back there and take my job back. Yet you have all those other guys that replaced them and spent the whole season playing, and quite frankly, a good portion of this fall playing. Well, now those guys are returning as well. So you have 2 groups, one that was slotted as starters and the other ones that replaced them as starters. So I think we finally have some healthy competition there. We have some depth, and thankfully we had a little bit of depth last year. We were able to deal with it. I don't know many teams and programs that could deal with losing 4 of their top 6 midfielders and still make the NCAAs. So it says a lot for those guys. The question mark for us coming into 2017 is the other end of the field, is the bottom third, and that's the defensive end. Our play there was not acceptable by our standards, in particular by my standards. I'm the guy that spends the majority of the time with the defense, so when we don't have a very good year, it's personal. No matter what part you fall down in, it's a little bit more personal when that's your position. So we spent a lot of time with that group, and that group has been our most improved group since last year. Through the fall, our leadership dynamic has been much better. Nick Fields has done a terrific job as a captain. John Crowley has done a great job there. Brock Turnbaugh isn't a rookie starter anymore, and he returns kind of as the incumbent. However, we have competition there too, where a year ago we didn't have that. It was kind of Brock, and when you turned to look, we weren't sure where to go. So you got Brock, you got Gerald Logan, a transfer, a graduate student from Michigan. You have Will Ryan, who actually started a couple games, and when Eric Schneider was there. And then you have Jacob Jackalone, who is a young guy coming in who has got a lot to learn, but is pretty dynamic. So, the exciting part is we have lots of competition. I think defensively we're worlds away from where we were last year. I would tell you we were the least detail-oriented group we've had in quite some time. And I would also tell you that this year we are a much more detail-oriented group. So, replacing Ryan is a challenge. But having Tinney back, having Reed back, having Kincannon back, having Sapinski back, those all ease the loss of him. And actually, the one thing we get back that we really lost was our athleticism. When you think of us, Tinney's our most competitive guy and one of our most athletic guys. Reed's one of our most athletic guys. Kincannon is small, quick, and athletic. And Sapinski's an athletic kid. So we lost the heart of our athleticism between the boxes, and the exciting part is we get that back.